everybody. Well, welcome back to another episode of Checkered Roots. And today I have Mr. Chris Puskas joining us. This is episode 3, and I think that you guys are going to enjoy this one. Chris has kind of a unique story from a little bit of what I've been hearing, talking to him a little bit before recording and kind of chatting through messages. I think that you guys will get a lot out of this, and this will be a really cool interview for you. So without further ado, Mr. Chris, how are you tonight?
I'm good, man. Just hanging out on Monday.
There you go. Gotta love a Monday night, right? Especially in the shop. You can see,
Yeah.
you got the late model behind you. You can see all your other stuff you got going on, man. That looks like a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about, well, one, who you are, where you're from, what you like to race, and what do you do for work?
So, Chris Puskas, 34 years old, from Somerset, New Jersey, small little town, central New Jersey. I grew up on my mom and dad's dairy farm. They still have it up there. My mom and dad, my brother, my uncle kind of run that whole deal. Growing up, everything about me was a little faster than a farm. So I started racing go-karts, and our 4-H club in central New Jersey actually has a go-kart club. So I got involved in that, raced at the fair, and then we ventured out to some local tracks, and it took off, and we did pretty damn good up there. And then when I turned, I think, 16, I always had in my head that I didn't want to be 16 and racing go-karts. For some reason, like I think it was in my head, I was ready for something else, right? So we bought a micro sprint and we raced up there for a couple of years. And then when I turned 18, I went out to UNOH in Ohio for college and went to school there. And then they have a motorsports team. And fortunately enough, I was able to drive their street stocks and their modifieds when I was going to school there. So that kind of kept the fuel burning with the racing thing and keeping me in a seat because, you know how expensive it is. It's hard to do on your own, especially when you're a college kid. So did that for 4 years, graduated, moved back home, worked at a Dodge Jeep dealership for a year just to kind of get my feet on the ground and figure out what I was going to do. And I always knew I wanted to wind up in North Carolina. Didn't know how I was going to get there, had no contacts really down here. And my uncle, who was a real estate agent, one of his buddies works at Roush Yates, the engine shop. And he's like, hey, I don't know if it'll go anywhere, but I'm going to have my nephew send you a resume. I sent one resume to North Carolina. It was the Roush Yates. And it was like 6 months after they got the resume. I had a Skype interview on a Monday. I had a second interview on Wednesday, and Friday I was moving down to North Carolina to start on Monday.
That's pretty fast paced, huh?
Yeah. It was like, okay, if this is gonna happen, it's gonna happen now.
Wow, that's cool, man. It sounds like you kind of had to seize the moment a little bit. Then kind of just had to jump on the first opportunity.
Yeah.
It sounds like you only had only one try at it though. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think I just. Like I knew that's where I wanted to be in life, and I knew North Carolina, if you're going to make a living in racing, is one of the hot spots here. Indy, there's some spots in Ohio that you can do it, but I feel like that was the big jump that I needed to make to like pursue this as a lifetime career, right?
Sure. No, and so are you still with Roush Yates then? Is that who you're employed through now, or did it kind of transition into something else?
Yeah, so I worked at Roush Yates for 6 years. I started in teardown, worked there for a year. Just as the engines would come back from the racetrack, you strip them down, clean everything, inspect. And then they moved me to subassembly, and it's kind of one of those deals where, like, they keep moving people through as people, I don't want to say leave, but, like, they have an opening or they get more teams and they need more people, right, to do different jobs. So I was in subassembly for 2 years, and then I worked back in the engine dyno room for 3 years, where basically like you would get an engine and you would run it and get power numbers, and like you were one of the last guys to touch it before it went in the car. And about, I would say December of 2018. It was about November of 2018. Doug Yates came to me, and we'd kind of been throwing around the idea of me traveling with a team, and like I wanted to travel and be on a team. And he's like, man, I hate to see you go, but I'm not going to hold you back from an opportunity. And there's an opening at Penske on an Xfinity car if you want to go. So like I was like, man, sure, I'd love to interview for it. Like, if it works out, great. I'm still involved in, I work on Roush Yates engines every day of the week when I'm at work. So it's still, like, you're still in the family, right? Like, I still have my key fob to get in the shop over at the engine shop, which is great. Like, all the guys over there are awesome. And I was driving down the road, like, the week of Christmas, and one of our competition director now calls me, and he's like, hey, do you have time for an interview? And I'm like, I'm in a hoodie and jeans. Like, I do not dress for an interview. I don't have a resume on me. And he's like, no, that's cool. Come on in. And in January of 2019, I started over there, and I've been on the Xfinity car. I did that for a year. And then in 2020, I was on the 12 and with Ryan Blaney. And then COVID happened, and they kind of throttled everybody's teams down. They cut a bunch of people off of their road because the schedule was limited and they wouldn't let as many people travel. So I came off the road. I was doing a bunch of stuff in the shop, chassis dyno in, engine checklist stuff, tear down there. And then 2022, I was just kind of working in the shop one day, and Jeremy Bolins pulled me aside. And he's like, hey man, I know it's not your thing, but I want you to come and be the rear end mechanic on the 2 car. And I was like, man, I don't really know, like, this is a next gen car. I don't really know what's going on here. Like, let's talk. Right. So we talked, and I was like, okay, well, it gets my foot in the door on the Cup side. And it worked out great. Like, Jeremy's awesome dude. I loved everybody I worked with on the 2 car, and the rest is history. We've just kind of been going since 2022 on the 2 Cup car.
That's awesome. So I guess I don't understand how it works on the mechanic side or the shop side or anything like that when it comes to Cup Series racing, or really any racing, to be honest with you. But so you only, like, one guy specializes in one part of the car? Is that how that works? Like, you only have, like, say you're the rear end mechanic, you're the only dude who gets to touch the rear end of the car, or is it kind of a collective?
So it's a little of both. So usually there's like a guy specific to each one, and it just happened to work out that, like, Jeremy was playing the long game because our engine tuner at the time, he had his own business and he was going to come off the road. And 2022, I did the rear end stuff. In 2023, when he came off the road, I then picked up the role as engine tuner, and I was still doing the rear end stuff.
Gotcha.
So it's like, that kind of worked out. And then in 2020, the end of 2023, our front end mechanic left. I'm sorry, this year, our front end mechanic on the 2 car left to go run his own business. And they were basically like, hey, we're going to bring you from the rear end to the front end because engine stuff's there. It's closer to where you're, like, it's your wheelhouse. Everything from the firewall forward is yours. So it just keeps me in a tighter box. But usually on the road, like, we've got a car chief who is responsible for everybody that works on the car. We've got a front end guy, a rear end guy, an engine tuner. Our setup guy stays at the shop most of the weeks. And then we've got 2 engineers and a crew chief. But everybody kind of knows the whole body of the car. Like, everybody does everything.
Right.
But you've got one area where you really have to be on your P's and Q's, right? Like, if something happens during the race or you get in a wreck, like, there's designated people to go over the wall or go back to the garage and do their job. And everybody's so streamlined now. You've got to be the best at what you can do.
So you kind of took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to ask you that. So say the 2 car blows a right front and just smokes the wall coming out of 4. Are you the guy that goes over the wall to say, yeah, this thing's done? Or is that you're kind of in the background, more or less advising the people that are going over the wall and talking to the crew chief and the engineers?
No, so we've got a pretty, like, unique intercom system that we all use. But if in the instance of a wreck, or parts fall off the car, or, like, something breaks, whatever happens, the road crew, the guys that work on the car during the week in the shop, me, our car chief, our rear end guy, and our interior guy, we will go over and assess damage, 1, 2, come up with a game plan. Like, we get some really good pictures at the racetrack, so 9 times out of 10 we have a game plan before the car's even on pit road.
Oh wow. Okay.
And we can have tools and bare bond and whatever we need to be able to repair the car and finish the race, or just to get back on track and not lose a lap. Like, whatever we need to do, And it's kind of cool because we all get to kind of come up with our own like unique way of doing something or special set of tools that we build in the shop. Like, if you think you can do this better, let's make a tool to do it better. But yeah, the car chief ultimately makes the call like, hey, we're done, or we need to go to the garage, or it's not as bad as it looks. Let's keep digging. But we're all assessing damage, and we're all working on stuff if there's a wreck or something breaks or something like that.
Well, I could sit here and listen to you talk about Cup Series racing and anything that goes with that all night, but I kind of want to shift a little bit towards your racing because you race as well.
Okay.
But so I'm gonna softly transition into it, if you will, and say how much does you working on a Cup car and during the week, throughout the week, end of the week, you have to have some gauge of setup and engine tuning, and like you were the engine tuner, and you've done it for a long time. How much does that really transfer to your late model or to your sprint cars? What can you take a lot of stuff from this next gen chassis or anything like that and apply it to what you do in your own cars?
I think I really, honestly, the Cup level is the major league of racing, right?
Right.
So I hold my racing to the same standards as much as I can. Like, obviously financially, it's a little hard to do that.
I can't compete with the $1 million sponsorships and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, like, my late model last year was the first year I ran late models. I ran sprint cars before that. Last year was the first year I ran them, and we ran twice because of my schedule with the Cup car. Like, it was like a Saturday of Martinsville we went and raced, and then the week after the season was over, we went and ran. And like with the late model stuff, it's just as competitive as a Cup level. Like, we're running crate cars, right? Like, it's a crate late model, and you wouldn't think that they have to be as on point as a Cup car. But there's guys out there spending as much as a super, right? Like, motors are cheaper, but they're still spending money on the shocks and the suspension and the new chassis and all the trick stuff that everybody's coming up with. The late model stuff's tough. I mean, it's really tough. And, I try and really, I think it's a mentality working at Penske that I try and use that on my own stuff to try and be as best as I can because, if somebody came up to my stuff and parts are falling off or the car's not running right or motors are blowing up and they're like, oh, well, what do you do for work? Oh, I work at Team Penske.
I work on the 2 car.
Right? Like, right. I work on the 2 car. And like, well, man, that's kind of, it's one of those deals. Like, even if I'm out to dinner, right? Like, I hold myself to a standard that if somebody from work would show up, they would be like, okay, that's our guy.
Right. Yeah. You want to, and that's a really, that's kind of a neat insight into the culture of Penske. Obviously there's a ton of, championship winning mentality with Penske and, everything they do across every series of racing is incredible, but it's cool to see even down to, the people who are working on the cars, not just the drivers, have that mentality of I'm going to hold myself to a higher standard, because I want to represent this brand. And I think that speaks a lot to the culture. And I think that's pretty neat to hear about. You kind of, and exactly like you said, if you were at the racetrack and I was like, oh yeah, Chris, I heard he works for Penske, and then I walk up to your car and it just is more or less kind of a shit box, I'd be like, huh, it's kind of an interesting dynamic there. So that's commendable to you. That's awesome, man. Well, it sounds like that your childhood was kind of, centered around racing. So is that kind of, and you said that was something you always wanted to do, but what made you, or what keeps you coming back to it? Like, what is the thing about racing that just pulls you towards it? Cause it's a little different from everybody's what I'm learning.
Man, I think like the competition's one thing, right? Like, everybody wants to win, like going back to the Cup side, but my very first race on the 2 car, we won the Daytona 500. And it's like, man, that it was, you hear stories about guys that go 15, 20 years in the Cup Series and don't win a race, right? Like, that side of competition is huge. And that always drove me. Like, I loved going fast. I loved beating the next guy, right? Like, if me and you were walking down the street, I'd try and beat you to the next curb, right? Like, the competition side, the camaraderie for sure. And just getting to go out and see the world. Like, I knew that traveling with the Cup car was going to be a lot of work, and it was going to be a lot on my family, on my personal life. But like, Penske does a really great job of managing all that. They give us plenty of time to spend with my wife and my daughter. My wife manages the time really well. You know, it's having a 1-year-old is a lot of work, and she does a phenomenal job of taking care of everything. We've got 5 acres here at our house, and we've got a couple horses and donkeys and goats. Those are more her thing than mine, but
right.
She does a great job of balancing all that out. And but I think the biggest thing was like, I always knew growing up, like I've got pictures from, you know, when I was like 5 and 6, the big wheel races. We had big wheel races at East Windsor Speedway where I grew up watching friends of our family race, right? Like I knew I don't have very big legs, but I was going to beat the next guy on a big wheel.
Right.
Like, that was my whole mentality. Like I was not going to let you win a race. And I think like it all transfers, right? Like the late model, I don't want to go out and get beat. So if I get beat, I'm coming to the shop. I'm going to be out here 2, 3 in the morning trying to figure out how to get better.
Right.
And the Cup Series drives that. Like we don't work super late hours, but if you've got an idea, like there's a lot of open ears at work that want to hear it. And like, hey man, if you think we can do this quicker, or we can do this better, or we've got a little trick up our sleeve that might make these cars a little faster, like they're all about it. And I think the innovation in the constant change, right? Like I always tell people, they're like, well, why do you like traveling so much? I'm like, it's not about the traveling. It's about the Sundays that can start and end so many different ways.
Oh yeah.
That it's not like you go to an office, you sit on a computer for 8 hours and you go home, right?
Right.
Like our Sundays have been anywhere from you win a race to you wreck on lap 7. Like there's been so much that can happen and change in the course of 400 laps. And I think that's the cool thing. Like the differences that one thing that you get to do can affect. And it all boils down to that. Like there's a lot that can change. There's a lot of different endings to stories at racetracks. And I think that keeps me coming back.
Yeah, no, there's one thing that you you kind of touched on it a little bit, but the Cup Series is the major league of racing, right? So you got called up to the big leagues, and then the first game that you play in the big leagues, you won the World Series. Like I don't want to glance like that's crazy. Like that's
right.
That's a cool accolade that not a lot of people can say, man. I mean, that's awesome. And then
yeah, so like that was my first like full-time season race. So I was on the 12 car for 4 races, and then in 2021, Austin Cindric ran the 33 car, and we ran like 7 or 8 races there. But it's actually kind of cool. So going back to getting on a Cup car, I'm actually the only crew member on Austin's team that has been with him every Cup race of his career.
Oh, that's awesome.
And like the 500, you know, you go into that one knowing you're either going to wind up in a ball of fire coming off of turn 4, or you wind up in the middle of the pack. But like, you don't ever go there thinking you're going to win, right?
Right.
Like, you try hard, and it's such a game of chess, right? From the drop of the green flag, you're managing fuel, and you're planning pit stops, and you're trying to get together with your teammates, and so much has to come together in like the last 3/4 of a lap.
Right.
And
yeah, it all comes down to the last couple laps. Yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, last corner even, right? Like
right.
You can wind up inside line, and you don't have a teammate behind you, and he drops you, and you go from first to 21st.
Right.
But that was by far one of the coolest moments of my entire career, racing career, everything. You know, like the moment we crossed the finish line, like you hear the people screaming, and our pit crew is just going wild because like you have a rookie driver. He's been at Daytona 1 time in a Cup car. You're like, man, let's see how this is all going to work out, right? Like you don't know, and you win it, and you're like, man, this is the, you know, growing up, I always knew I wanted to work on race cars. Did I ever think I was going to win the Daytona 500? No. Did I ever think I was going to work on a Cup car? No. Did I ever think I was going to work at Penske? Probably not.
Right.
But like, I don't know if it's just fortunate, or like, a lot of hard work. I think it's a combination of all of it, but I'm really blessed to be in the positions that I'm in and work with the guys that I get to work with.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's tough to, you hear like professional athletes all the time are like, oh, I've envisioned this from the start and all that stuff. But I don't think that's common for everybody. I think that, the outlook that you kind of have on it is, yeah, I've worked my ass off to be where I'm at. I've dedicated myself to this. This is what I'm passionate about. I love my work. I love what I do. And those are the stories that you hear that are more times than not successful, the work that goes into it. And especially, Cup Series racing and through you being a mechanic and a tuner and all that stuff, like the adjustments and how precise you have to be. And this is just what I understand from watching is like thousandths of an inch make the biggest difference in the world when it comes to anything like that. So for you guys to put it all together and have luck on your side and not get wadded up in turn 4 at the Daytona 500 to be able to secure that with the rookie driver, I mean, that's something else, dude.
Yeah, and like I tell people all the time, if you went back and asked that 7 or 8 year old kid got his first go-kart, like, do you ever think you'll be on a team that wins the Daytona 500? He'd have told you no 1,000 times, right? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
I'm just out here trying to make a living and trying to, get somewhere in racing. And like, it's crazy to think about those times and look back on those things. Like, it's pretty breathtaking, honestly.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, so then to kind of piggyback off of that, what is a piece of advice that you would give someone like me who doesn't come from a racing family? Like I said, I've said it in a couple times in these episodes, I don't come from a racing family. I'm the first one in my family to try to do anything even related to racing. We've always been race fans. My dad and I used to race my cars around the table when I was younger watching the Cup Series race. But I'm the first one to say, you know what? I'm going to go try it. I want to go racing. And I don't know where it lands, but what advice would you give to someone like me who's trying to get my foot into the sport? Kind of how would you, if you could go back and do it all over again, what would you do?
Man, if looking back on it, don't be afraid to take chances. Don't be the first one to, leave, right? If there's something to do at the shop, ask to help, even if it's not your job, right? If your shop guy is there late, or even at the local level, right? Like, if you want to show up to a racetrack and you see a guy that maybe doesn't have help or whatever, go ask him. Like, go, hey, can I work on can I clean your car tonight? Sure. Like, guys are out there looking for that. And I feel like I've helped out people or like gone to the racetrack with guys that maybe didn't have a shot at winning races or weren't going to run top 5, but you learn so much from those guys, right? Guys that have done it for 20 years, guys that have done it for a year, they're going to teach you so much. Even guys at the cup level, like, there's guys that pick up stuff from me or other guys on our team, and I pick up stuff from other guys on different teams, right? Like,
sure. There's
so much knowledge, and I think hard work will get you more places than coming from a racing family. You can be Jeff Gordon's kid or Ray Evernham's kid, or the guys that make it look easy, right? Like,
right.
The God-given talent, the smart guys that have been doing this forever and have made a name for themselves. You can be one of their kids and not have the work ethic like you or I, and they'll pick you and me 9 times out of 10.
Right. Well, they know that we'll show up and we're going to put our best foot forward, and we're going to, we'll apply ourselves to it and not say, well, I already know this is what I'm doing. So,
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, even if it's not something, so goes back to a story, when we were putting an engine together, man, I don't remember when it was, but, at the engine shop, we were doing something late at night, and we stayed late, and like, all the lights are off in the shop. There's 4 or 5 guys that stayed late, and you're thrashing and heat of the moment, and like, you're trying to get done, not to get home, but to get the job done so that these race cars can go to the racetrack and all this stuff. And there's one of our old engineers at the engine shop. He left, retired a couple years ago, and he looked at me, and I was kind of scrambling, putting header bolts in. And he looks at me and he's like, hey, man, slow down. I'm like, okay, well, this is a business of speed, right? Like, you got to go, 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 go. And he goes, and I'll never forget this. He looked at me dead in the eyes and he goes, "Nobody's going to be mad at you if you're not done first. They're going to be more pissed off if you don't do it correctly." And I'm like,
Yeah.
huh, okay. So now, like, I've got a pretty high speed energy that I just go and go and go.
Sure.
But now I've kind of like, okay, let me think about this before I do it. Let me take a step back and think about all the scenarios, and let's get this job done correctly and efficiently and do it the right way. It may take us 5 minutes longer, but let's make sure that we're putting product out there, right? The best race car we can put out there, best engine, whatever it is. And that really sticks to me. There's a few things that like have impacted me personally and mentally that like I will live and die on those hills. And that's one of them.
I say that a little bit differently, but I use the same frame of thinking, and I tell my guys at work all the time that, hey, it is way faster to do it right once than it is to do it wrong twice. So let's just take our time, make sure it's right, and we'll do it once rather than holy shit, we got done in 5 minutes, but now it's going to take us 30 because we got to undo what we just messed up and then do it right the second time. So that's kind of cool. That transfers. I like that.
Yeah.
One thing I like this question a lot, and I've been asking it more and more. But what is one of the craziest experiences you have at the racetrack? That can be in your own racing, crazy story like we would not believe this shit kind of story that you got.
Man, I've got a lot. The one that comes to mind more than anything, looking back on it, was probably not the smartest thing to do. I was racing a 305 sprint car for a guy, old school guy, like worked on this car all the time in his garage. And I got a phone call. Hey, can you come drive this car? Sure. Showed up. Never seen the car before in my life. Knew the guy, like knew he was old school. I probably wasn't going to show up at the racetrack and make changes on this thing. Right.
Right.
So we jump in it. Me and one of my buddies, like, Saturday afternoon, hey, let's jump in the truck. We're going to Harris Speedway, which is like an hour and a half from my house. Drive down there, gear bag in hand, jump in the car. We run like third in a heat race, and I think there was like an invert. We started like fourth or fifth in the feature, right? And we take the green flag, and the motor kind of like stumbled. And me being a motor guy, I'm like, okay. Don't know what that was, but like we're still going forward and none of the temps are coming up. It's not making any crazy noise. Let's just keep going. And if I need to pull off, I'll pull off, right? I'm not about like ruining somebody else's stuff.
Right.
Let's just keep going, right? So we run the whole race, and this is a pretty small track, usually pretty technical, and I'm like flat-footed the whole race. And I'm like, wow, we're really doing something here. Like we're going forward, we're hooked up, we're doing good, right? And like 10, 12 laps into the feature, I'm like, man, is it raining? And I'm just sawing at the wheel, and I'm like, man, I'm getting wet. Like, this is just weird, right? So I'm going, and all of a sudden, like, we ran green to checkered, no caution flags, nothing, right? Like 5 to go, I'm kind of like, man, it's getting colder. Like, it's getting really cold. 3 to go, 2 to go, 1 to go, checker flag. And I'm like, okay. And we slowed down, and the air stopped, and I'm like, man, now I'm getting warm. I'm like, this is kind of an odd feeling. I don't know if like it's raining or what. So we pull into the garage, or in like the pit area behind the trailer. We finished third, and I'm like mad that I finished third, right? I'm like, kind of, how am I going to explain this to the guy that I'm trying to basically interview to keep driving his car, right?
Right.
So we get back to the car, and my buddy comes over to me, and he's like, hey man, did you piss yourself? I'm like, no. Why? He goes, there's a trail of like fluid coming out of the car. I'm like, well, I have good brakes. I've got good power steering. I'm like, no, I didn't piss myself. Well, I get out of the car, and it dawns on me that it's fuel, right? Like, so the mechanical fuel injection on those cars, after the fact, the rocker arm on the intake broke. So the intake rocker arm was never opening, allowing fuel to come in. So it filled the entire runner full of fuel and was car owner is a heavy cigarette smoker, so he comes walking over with a cigarette in his mouth, and I'm like, stop right there.
Oh
I am covered head to toe in fuel, methanol, right? Like, you can't see it when it's on fire. I stripped down as quick as I could, and I was like, threw all my gear stuff in the back of my truck that night. I was like, I'm not getting this anywhere close to where it'll catch on fire.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it was like the sketchiest 10 minutes of me driving that I was like, wow, that could have ended a lot of bad ways.
It's probably better that you didn't know what was going on in the moment, so then that's not running through your head. It's almost like the naiveness was your friend in that situation.
Right. And like, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, race car drivers have to be smart, but there's also a level of like ignorance, I guess, that like, hey, let's just keep going. Like, this is one of those things where we're running well, we're not getting past, we're passing cars, and see where it shakes out, right? And we'll worry about the rest later.
Right.
But that was definitely on the top 5 of the sketchiest, craziest things I've done as a driver. So
sure, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
What's kind of your future plans look like, man, when it comes to either one, your racing, or two, with the Cup Series? Like, kind of now that you're involved in it, where do you kind of want to see yourself get off at the end of the line and have that fulfillment?
Man, I feel like fulfillment, if it was to end tomorrow, I would feel like I had a really successful racing career. Like, if hopefully it doesn't. If something was to happen and like, hey, you got to hang it up driving, hang it up crew wise, I go out knowing like, man, I won one of the biggest races that you can win, like the biggest race you can win. I've worked with a really, really awesome group of guys, still do. My racing career, I feel fulfilled in. Like, I've always said I wanted to drive late models or sprint cars. I've done all that. I think potentially my late model side, if I keep running crates or I get back in sprint cars, I just want to go have fun. Like, at this point in my life, me and a couple buddies want to go to the racetrack, not destroy our stuff, and at the end of the night, sit back and drink beer. If we win, great. If we lose, we'll laugh about it, right? But I think that aspect of it, and in a couple years, my daughter, she might want to get into it. So I think like I'm going to be focused on how do I prepare a kart or a quarter midget for her and still stay relevant in my own racing. And maybe that kind of goes away and I'm okay with. Deep down, I'm a driver.
Right.
And I always want to be. But if it's going to mean the betterment of her, if it's something she wants to do, I'm all about it. At the Cup level, man, it's kind of hard to plan that all out because so many things change so quick. Like 2019, I showed up as an Xfinity tuner, and 2 years later, we won the Daytona 500 on a Cup car. Like, I didn't think any of that was going to happen. Earlier this year, my car chief, he had a family emergency that he had to handle and wasn't able to go to the racetrack. And they were like, hey, you're going to car chief this week. And I'm like, okay. So your stomach's in knots, right? You got to get this thing through tech, and tech is so important there. Like, getting every ounce you can in the Cup level.
Right.
Like you're passing weights by pounds barely, right? Like pre-race weights, you're passing by pounds, or you're passing by 10,000ths of an inch on the body scans. Like, it's tight. So getting that level of, to do that role for a weekend was pretty nerve-wracking, but I feel like it went pretty well. It was in Nashville. We ran well there. We did okay. Car chiefing, sure, I'd like to give it a shot. If it doesn't work out there, I know I have, I can tune and I can do front suspension, rear suspension. Like, there's not a whole lot on that car that I haven't worked with,
sure, that
I'm not comfortable with. So, I guess it just comes to like, where the opportunities at Penske come next. If it's a car chief, or is it like a department manager, or is it, do I, approach an engineering role? If that's something that somebody approaches me and says, hey, would you be interested? There's a lot of doors that can be opened. It's all really timing at that level. Like, you right place, right time, or somebody moves on, or somebody gets a different role that, if you show interest or they feel that you're a good fit for, that they can make it work out.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. No, Well, man, I wish you all the best in that. I hope that works out for you in whatever avenue
I
that
appreciate
is,
it.
and hope your I hope your
Right.
daughter grows up to kick some ass and races the hell out of some karts or some
Yeah,
midgets.
me too.
It'd be awesome. I'm
Yeah,
on the
that'd be
same
sweet.
path with my kids. I mean, my son is really into racing. We're kind of trying to figure out if he's gonna want to drive or if he just kind of likes to observe it. Now, my daughter, she's 3 now, but you couldn't tell her no different. I mean, she's fearless. So I think that she will definitely be my daredevil who's like, yeah, strap me into that thing and I want to see how fast it'll go. My son's a little bit more timid, which is kind of more
Yeah.
my wife's personality. So it's kind of funny how that kind of worked out. But, well, cool, man.
Yeah,
Well, that's,
my wife's terrified that
oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
the day our daughter was born, like after she was born, I was on Facebook Marketplace, and yeah, I do a lot of Facebook Marketplace,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I found a 80cc Yamaha 4-wheeler, and I was like, hey, when we go home tomorrow, I might duck out for an hour, and I'm gonna go pick this up. And it's like every night before she like is settled down, ready to go to bed, we take a lap around our property on this little
Heck
Yamaha
yeah,
Raptor
dude.
to just go for a ride. And she's fearless, man. It's unreal.
That is awesome. Yeah, that's breeding
Yeah.
racers right there, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, man, that's all my questions I have. I mean, I'll open up the floor to you if there's anything that you want to talk about, anything you want to say, people want to thank, anything like that. That's kind of, to close it out. I'll let you kind of, anything you need to get off your chest or anything like that. The floor is kind of yours.
I mean, honestly, I want to hear about you. Like, you're interested in getting like involved in racing, and I've done it for 20 some years now at this point in my life. Like, if there's anything I can do to help you or point you in the right direction or open doors or help open doors or get you in contact with people, like, tell me about you. Tell me about your interests or what you want to do in racing. If there's anything I can do to help, I'd love to do it.
Yeah, man. So, I mean, well, I'll do the same exact thing that you did for me at the beginning of this. So, hi, I'm X-Eskridge. I am at
Perfect.
the ripe age of 27 years old, and I have started recently on this 2-year path, goal, journey, mission, however you want to phrase it. In 2 years it's a very fluid thing, but that's what I gave myself of, okay, in 2 years I want to be on track in a car. Don't know. And when I made this plan, I was like, I don't know what I'm racing. I know it has to be dirt because there's nothing around me that's asphalt, although that's my first passion is anything asphalt, but it has to be dirt. Don't know what cars I want to do. I don't have a ton of engine knowledge. I played baseball when I was younger, and that was my thing. And I'm a construction superintendent now, so I know how to build roads and I know how to put pipe in the ground, and that's about all I know. So I started trying to learn about race cars or about engines and what I've been recently doing is I looked up and for anybody this actually works decently well, but I looked up the point standings for the local dirt tracks around me, and then I would look at the names on there, and then I'd go find them on Facebook, and I would basically send them a proposal that said, hi, I don't know anything. I'll come clean your tools or scrape the mud from underneath your fender wells. I just want to be around racing. And Adam Dunwoody, he's who I've been helping out these last few weeks, has been nothing but incredible with showing me kind of, hey, this is what this is how this works. And it's the knowledge I've gained in just 2 weeks. I am so excited to learn what a year from now looks like if I can continue, if he'll continue to open his arms to me on that. And I want to get around other types of racing because he runs B mods, but I know a guy who runs micro sprints. That sounds like that'd be fun to kind of go check that out and see, okay, well, what's this style of racing look like up close and stuff like that. So that's kind of a little bit about me. What I want to do with it is whatever I can. I mean, it's such a loaded question because obviously I have this saying where I says I'm gonna shoot for the stars and I'm gonna try to land on the moon. So I'm gonna set
Right.
these really high goals for myself to hold myself to a really high standard. So like my dream goal is I want to run a race on Kansas Speedway. It's 25 minutes from my house where I sit now. I love being there. I've watched cars go around there. I want to be on that track, whether that's in the ARCA series or some one-off thing that they do. I want to go fast around Kansas Speedway. So that's my lofty goal.
Okay.
I'm lobbing it up. Just maybe it hits, maybe it doesn't. More realistic, I just want to learn how to be competitive. Obviously, getting myself into a car and getting the funding for a car is probably the first thing that I need to figure out. But we're early on in the process, so I'm trying to work through all of those things one day at a time.
Yeah, no, I understand completely. My dad was like, hey, if you're going to make this work, you're going to figure it out on your own, right? My own racing stuff, go-kart stuff, the micro sprint stuff, like, and even growing up, like helping out people at the local short track is more important, like looking back on it to me than what I do now, right?
Right.
Like I think you're in a really good spot because you're not you didn't come from it, and that may sound crazy, but you don't have a bunch of bad habits from like my dad did it this way, so I have to do it this way, right? Like
Right.
that's a pretty good spot to be in when you just want to do, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you don't have anything like I want to do go-karts, I want to do sprint cars. To be able to say I just want to be involved is probably worth more than you realize.
Oh, sweet.
And that you say you're close to Kansas Speedway. I think we come back there once this year, later in the
Here in
year.
September for the playoffs. Yep.
Yeah, we'll definitely stay in touch, and I think this is a friendship that will grow from tonight. But
Absolutely.
I'll definitely, I can probably get you in the pits and show you around and show you what we do week to week, and
Hell yeah, dude.
get you involved and at least get you an inside view on that. And like, man, this looks really cool. I think I might want to do this. Like, who knows? In 5 years, you may be working side by side in the garage with me.
Dude, well, thank you for one. And yes, I really do hope that this does continue. You know, I've had a thoroughly
absolutely
good time, sitting down here and bullshitting with you for a while tonight. But yeah, dude,
right.
yeah, when you guys get here in September, yes, please keep my number handy. I'd love to come tag along, man. That'd be an unreal experience.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, and like, people come to the racetrack with one mentality, like, oh, it's this way, right? To show, like, not to dog you, but you're not in, like, you haven't been involved in racing long.
Mm-hmm.
But to show you that inside, like, all that, I get a lot of enjoyment out of it because, like, this is what we do. This is what I do for a living. And people are like, oh, man, this is unreal. I'm like, yeah, it's unreal. It changes so quick from last year to what we have now. It's like people show up to the racetrack year after year and they're like, we didn't see this last time. Yeah, we didn't have it last time.
Right.
Like, different tools we have and stuff like that. But no, like I want to get you involved. I want to keep you involved. Like, I feel like you've got the mindset of the guys that I work with now. Like you want to do better. Like today, tomorrow, you're going to be better tomorrow than you were today, and you're going to learn from your mistakes yesterday, right?
Absolutely.
I feel like just from this conversation we've had that if you're not at the cup level, you're going to be the best at go-karts or micro sprints.
Right.
Like, you're going to do good things because you're interested and you're willing to learn and you're willing to take advice from people. And just this podcast platform that you're doing, you're interviewing different forms of racing just to try and find, like, okay, this guy made it work from nothing, and this guy, his dad and his grandpa raced and they did it this way. And like, you're taking a whole network and you're building it to build a platform, but you're also building a plan for you, which is cool.
Yeah, that's kind of the funny thing about this. I was telling Brandon Kramers, who I talked to last night. I was telling him, like, dude, when I made this, I had like 100 followers on TikTok, and a lot of them were racers. And I was like, I'll get like 10 people, and I'll just get to talk to a few people, and yeah, I'll make a video or two about it. And then I went to bed that night, and I woke up the next morning, and I had like 138 message requests of like, hey man, I'll interview with you. And now it's like the only form of motorsport that I think I have not had someone reach out on is like jet boats or jet skis. Other than that,
really,
like, any kind of racing you can think of that's in motorsport, I have something set up with them. So like the different view that you can get on it. And I mean, it's even things from like all three series of NASCAR. I have something lined up in there, or a guy who races drag racing or motocross, MotoGP, like all these different styles of racing. And that's where it's for me to take, like you're saying, to be like, okay, well, Chris did this, Brandon did this, and Larry did this, but okay, I'm going to take this piece of his story because I think that's interesting and I didn't think about that. I'm going to take this piece and I think that that's going to, it's going to help me. But then it's kind of grown into something much bigger where I kind of, the more I received these messages and thought about it and had like the support of it, it's like, man, it's kind of really cool to give the guy who doesn't get the interview at the track because he finishes 15th every night in the feature or just started racing this year or anything like that, like to give them a chance to tell their story and to get it out, and to maybe somebody stumbles upon this podcast and is like, yeah, I can relate a lot to that. So there's a lot more that went into it now, but yes, originally it did start just for me because I was just curious.
No, that's cool, man. And like when I saw I think it was on TikTok, I saw your video and I was like, and this guy's trying to get, the underdogs. He's trying to get the stories of like you said, the guy that may run 15th or the guy that runs once a year, right? Those guys are just as important as the guys that win every week.
Absolutely.
You have to have the guys that show up and are loyal to racetracks or loyal to a series. And you have to have even the guys that don't race that are just crewing on cars, right? Like you have to have those kind of people to keep motorsports the way that it is, right? And honestly, you're going to find out this too, as many people as you're going to interview. It's such a small circle.
It is.
As big as racing is, like it is such a small circle.
Yeah, it
like
is.
You'll interview somebody and be like, "Oh, hey, I was good friends with this guy that you interviewed 2 years ago," right? Like, it's such a tight knit group. Like you may go 5 years without racing at a track, and you show up and you see a buddy of yours from 10 years ago that shows up, and like he's been racing late models and you've been racing street stocks. Like it's crazy to see how much difference but similarities there are across all types of motorsport.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. It is an insanely small but insanely large community that exactly like you said it. It's such a tight circle, and I'm already getting people who are like, "Hey, I saw you interviewed this person. I actually know that dude from way back when, and I'd love to get in on something too." So it's crazy how quick word travels too. Of like, "Hey, I heard you're doing this from so and so, and so told me this," and so yeah, super cool and tight knit circle. But well, cool, man. Hey, Crit, I really, really appreciate your time, and I appreciate you sitting down with me and sharing stories about Cup Series racing and your late model stuff, and all of it is so cool. And I'd really look forward to continuing on a friendship here. I think that's going to be awesome, and I hope that everybody who's watching this gets just as much of it out of it as I did, because it was fantastic for me.
Yeah, man, I really appreciate it. I definitely we'll stay in touch, and hopefully in September if you're available that weekend. I mean, make yourself available.
I will be there. Yes, whatever plans I had are canceled now. As of now, they are canceled. So we'll make that happen.
And I really appreciate it, and having somebody that would sit down and listen to my story and allow me to help in any way possible. It's pretty cool, and I've kind of guided a couple kids that, graduated or going to school after me, or like family friends that, hey, my kid wants to get into racing. Like, I get a lot of pride in that because I don't do that for everybody. Like, if I see something in you and I know you're a hard worker, like there's enough people that come up like, hey, my kid wants to work on a cup car. Okay, I don't know your kid, right? Like, but if I know you and I can get on board, I'm going to push you just as far as me, right? Like, if you're my boss one day, that'd be great. Because I know that I got enjoyment out of helping you out, and like I know your story, right? I know where you came from. I know you're a hard worker. It's very rewarding for me in that sense. And like I said before, I'm willing to help you any way I can, man.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, have a great rest of your night, and I really appreciate you stopping by.
Yeah, not a problem. Thanks.